Dolce Vita Retirement Living in Via Italia Windsor della famiglia Conciatori, suite privati e semiprivati con climatizzatori, servizio con personale 24 ore al giorno e staff medico in loco, prezzi eccellenti, talento culinario per ogni esigenza dietetica con cucina casareccia e pranzi cucinati freschi giornalmente.
Dolce Vita Retirement Home, la vostra ideale casa di riposo.
Dolce Vita Retirement Living, tutto il comfort e calore della vostra casa. Italia Bakery, orgogliosa di sponsorizzare il Panorama Italiano nel centro di Via Italia in Windsor, rinomati nella preparazione di torte, fruit tables e sweet tables per matrimoni, battesimi e cresime ed altre occasioni. Italia Bakery curerà nei minimi dettagli ogni vostra festa per fare sempre bella figura nelle vostre cerimonie ricordevoli. Ricordate, Italia Bakery.
Heavenly Rest Cemetery, il complesso di imponenti mausolei con varietà di scelta, dove le persone care sono custodite con la massima cura e religiosamente, fino alla risurrezione. Heavenly Rest Cemetery, fiero patrocinatore di Panorama Italiano.
Gennaro Caffè, che bontà!
Gentili telespettatori, benvenuti a Panorama Italiano. Voglio ricordare ancora una volta a tutti che domenica alle 2 di pomeriggio alla Sant'Angela Merici Hall ci sarà l'onorevole Fucsia Nissoli Fitzgerald. L'onorevole Nissoli è la deputata al governo italiano nella circoscrizione del Nord America. Lei è involta con la terza commissione degli affari esteri e comunitari ed è la promotrice della mozione per il riacquisto della doppia cittadinanza per coloro che l'hanno persa o che la vogliono riacquistare. Quindi è la persona adatta per vedere, per sentire, appunto per questa annosa situazione della doppia cittadinanza. Quindi vi prego tutti di venire alla Sant'Angela Hall domenica alle ore 2 e quindi sentire dall'onorevole Nissoli stessa quali sono le condizioni attuali per quanto riguarda la doppia cittadinanza. Ricordate, alla Sant'Angela Merici Hall, domenica 22 di novembre alle ore 2 di pomeriggio. Un'altra informazione, gentili telespettatori, poco gradevole, è la visita dell'ambasciatore Sua Eccellenza Gian Lorenzo Cornato. La visita è stata annullata. Nel momento in cui registriamo questa trasmissione, non mi è possibile sapere ancora i motivi per cui la venuta dell'ambasciatore è stata annullata. Comunque, non appena sarò a conoscenza, speriamo la settimana prossima, potrà darvi i dettagli dell'annullamento di questa visita alla comunità di Windsor in occasione dell'inaugurazione del programma Adopt a Student. Ed ora, gentili telespettatori, passiamo al nostro programma con una intervista con il manager di Provincial Chrysler che ci parlerà della situazione delle macchine, specialmente delle macchine italiane qui nel Nord America. Inoltre, a richiesta, vi ripeterò il documentario di Petawawa. Arrivederci a tra poco. Gentili telespettatori, siamo qui questa mattina allo studio della Fiat qui a Provincial Road con il manager Udo. Udo, how are you doing this morning?
Excellent. Nice to see you this morning.
Nice to see you too. We are in this studio which is equipped with everything. We got the espresso machine in there, we got all kind of goodies, but more than anything else, we got these beautiful cars in the back of us.
They are our shining light.
It's shining light. But you had a little bit of polishing lately, because I mean the shine is terrific.
The finishes, they're painted in the Ferrari plant, so you know they've got a great finish on the car.
Yeah. Listen, Udo, we are over here today, and we wanted to talk about a little bit of this kind of movement and some kind of something new in Windsor. Far as is concerned, the FCA, the Fiat Chrysler Automotive, importing a car from Italy and exporting car from Italy and Europe,
Sure.
and stuff like that. How the people is receiving this factor to have, for instance, the renegade built in Italy and sold it over here?
Well, the thing with the new cars, it's not just one car. It's not just the Alfa Romeo 4C or the Spider. It's a special car. It's hand built. We love that car.
Yeah.
But we've got the new Jeep Renegade is a perfect example of what FCA and the combined, let's call, force between Fiat and Chrysler, where they're taking product that has been traditionally seen in Europe and brought over to Canada. So it initially started with the 500L. We saw that introduced a couple of years ago. We're seeing the Renegade, which was introduced earlier this year, and it's bringing to us a client we haven't seen before in the dealership.
So the client that they are receiving in an optimistic way these new breed of cars or this new technology that is on these cars.
They like not only the technology on the cars, they like the style, what that car says about them. So when FCA introduced the Jeep Renegade, there was a song that's become pretty big, the Renegade song. My kids who are 12 and 14, they know the song well, but they picture themselves with that car and that song, and it's a great way to bring new clients to the showroom to highlight, because the product is fantastic.
Yeah. With the respect of benefit for, say, for the countries, for the Canadian and the Italian and also Mexican, Serbian, and that they are all involved in building these cars. We respect the benefit for is concerned job creating program and profit for themselves and stuff like that. How you see that kind of factor in there, Udo?
You see some advantages with FCA where you have some great design meeting, particularly with Fiat. I mean, the 4Cs behind us are a perfect example of great design. But when you put that together with the ingenuity of the North American the build, the quality that we've seen, the increases of quality the last few years, it's positioning FCA very good in the marketplace, and you're seeing record sales out of the U.S. and continued really strong sales in Canada. I mean, September of last year, September was the biggest sales increase month that FCA saw in the U.S. That goes to show that they're on the right track in terms of product placement. The style is hitting the market, put it that way.
Yeah. So this kind of fusion of Fiat and Chrysler is giving benefit to many people in both countries.
Because it's a combination of style, really, yeah. Right? It's combining the style of the North American and the European in one, and they're the only car company that's really seems to have that going right now.
Yeah. And locally over here, and this studio and the Chrysler, I see that there are many 500 going around on the road, and
Yeah.
there are also some Alfa Romeo.
Yes.
What is the feedback that you got from this client or these people, Udo?
So in the first time, a lot of the clients coming in at the 500 were interested in the gas savings of the car. What surprises most of the clients is how well the car handles, how well it performs, and they like you get in a Fiat 500 and there's not another vehicle like it in terms of style that you're going to get into the market, particularly in the small segment car.
Is this kind of, I should say, gusto to choose a car, is that because of the ethnical origin, the Italian origin, or is get it from everybody? I mean, there is no distinction of people. It's the like that they.
As much as we would love to say it's just the Italian population supporting it, it's everybody. It's the recent graduate buying their first car and they want something that may be a little bit different than what mom and dad drove, to the commuter who's very focused on fuel economy, to it's a whole gamut. There isn't I can't say that there's one particular person that fits into that Fiat shell.
So it's something for everybody. It doesn't matter the nationality or stuff like that. When they like the style, they like the style.
Well, I am a salesman. Of
Yeah.
course, there is one for everybody. Of course.
Good. And with respect of the availability of these cars, how it's coming? I understand that some new model they're coming soon, and they're gonna be here. What you can say about that?
So, in particular, the Fiat X has arrived. There's been some, and it's been well published, some of the challenges that we've had on the 6-speed double dry clutch on the 500L. They replaced that transmission in 2014. The new transmission has proven to not have any issues. So it's good to see that they're responding to quality issues rather than pumping it out there and leaving it at the dealer level to solve.
Good. So it's a positive thing and the people there after that make sure that everything is fine, that the customers they are satisfied.
Yeah, I mean at the dealership level there are different training requirements for the Fiat technician. I mean, not all my technicians can work on Fiats because it's specific training. So quality is important to us because we only have so many technicians out there, and we can't have all those cars in here, obviously, to get repaired.
Yeah. And what do you foresee about the Giulietta?
Wow, what a beautiful car. I wish we had the Nürburgring ring here around here to drive. That would be fantastic.
When do you think we're gonna see that around here?
The latest looks like we're going to see it in the second quarter of 2016. The styling of the car looks fantastic, but what I think impresses me the most is it will really make a mark on that luxury car sedan segment in North America. We're looking forward to having it, largely because that luxury car buyer right now is looking either at Japanese or German product, and I think there's an opportunity, a good opportunity to get some of that market share back for FCA.
Yeah. Well, we see a lot of progress and a lot of new things in this couple of years over here, and we hope to see more in the years coming and the months coming, because as you said, that the Giulietta is going to be here and some other model, and we will follow that because we would like to keep our TV viewer informed of what is going on in here, and also to let them know what is this moment of technology that is benefiting, after all, everybody.
Sure.
You know, and hopefully that everybody is going to be happy with the product and keep on going the best we can.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Udo, and I'll see you again
Great,
soon.
Luigi.
And try to come up with some good news so we're gonna let our people know about it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me today.
Okay, thank you.
At Unico, every product we carry has a deep tradition behind it. We search far and wide to bring you only high-quality products. Whether it's an impressive assortment of tomatoes and eggplant or an exceptional collection of olives and roasted peppers, our goal is to give you the ingredients necessary to cook delicious meals that you can be proud of. Unico, bringing real taste home since 1917.
Huron Automotive, l'officina 1660 Huron Church Road, con meccanici qualificati ed esperti per le riparazioni e manutenzione delle vostre macchine. Huron Automotive cura anche l'aspetto interno ed esterno delle vostre macchine. Huron Automotive, fiero patrocinatore di Panorama Italiano.
For all your car care needs, we are your one-stop shop.
Plaza Ontario, importatore e distributore di marmo, granito e ceramica rinomata. Vasta sala esposizione con scelta di tappeti, hardwood, mattonelle ed altri prodotti in vinyl per le vostre case e i vostri uffici. Plaza Ontario è l'arredamento della vostra casa. Orgoglioso di sponsorizzare questo programma.
No one can sleep without wives, without the touch of lovers. The moon, an empty plate, is claimed by every man in this forgotten moment. Secrets of the heart whispered to this lone Luna. Messages sent across kilometers, across cities of war, sealed in silent, starlight kisses.
At 1 o'clock, the radio came on, and they declared that Italy had gone into war. They picked up the men to take them to camp. There was Mr. Orlando, Mr. Brenner, Mr. Maggi, Father Ricardo.
When the War Measure Act went into effect June 10th, there was total chaos. Shoe shops over here, they were all prejudiced against, broken into, windows broken. He didn't do anything wrong.
I came home from school and the house was loaded with RCMP and local police. They tore the place apart.
Everything was vandalized. There was a great deal of animosity towards the Italians. They were all a bunch of wops. They were all a bunch of fascists.
He was picked up by the RCMP and handcuffed and dragged out without any explanation. And we didn't see him for about 2 to 3 years.
Mrs. Orlando called me and said, Antonietta, they took my boys and I don't know where.
He was jumping up and down against the windows, trying to spot his father in the group inside. He was 11 years old at the time, and it was surrounded by guards with rifles.
That's right.
And one of the soldiers took his rifle butt and knocked him for a loop.
Father Ricardo has never forgiven the authorities for. He was stripped of his habit completely and made to walk around in his BVDs, his underwear, in front of all these people who were his parishioners. Took his habit off him. Very humiliating.
When I came back from school on the day that my dad was arrested, I didn't realize what was happening. Then my comare across the street had taken me and bought some ice cream for me, and I remember crying into the ice cream. It was a strange day.
With Italy's declaration of war against the Allied forces on June 10, 1940, many Canadians of Italian origin were declared enemy aliens. Thousands of men and women across Canada were required to report to the RCMP, although no charges were ever laid against any one of them. Approximately 630 Italian Canadians had to report to internment camps in Petawawa and in Gagetown, New Brunswick.
Virtually every Canadian of Italian origin was deemed an enemy alien, and they were required to report to police stations and be fingerprinted and accounted for, which apparently they did great droves because they felt it was their civic responsibility to do that.
There were 3 items that were taboo. One was a picture of Benito Mussolini. Yeah. The third was a Italian flag, and the third most condemning, a gun of any sort. With those 3 items in a house, or any variation of it, they took that man immediately.
A lot of chimneys were spewing out smoke, which was strange, but they were burning calendars and things like that that they felt could incriminate them. And this became a joke later about the chimneys going in the middle of June.
We have evidence, for instance, that the police broke into a bedroom, found a crucifix, thought this was some kind of nefarious symbol, and the person was sent to internment camp.
My dad was very disappointed about the alliance with Germany. He was an admirer of Mussolini, and he wasn't alone, as you know. There was Churchill and Roosevelt, Mahatma Gandhi, and a good number of people. So it's not surprising that many Italians were also admiring him.
Montreal was very sympathetic to anything that Mussolini did. I mean, they had his main pilot come over and have air shows, and then the mayor was supposed to be a fascistic, I guess it was Chameleon Hood at that time, and it was amazing.
Well, he was in the internment camp.
He was into the mayor of
Petawawa.
Montreal. Mm-hmm.
And, you have the Notre Dame de la Defense church in the Little Italy area of Montreal with the huge picture of Mussolini on the horse.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question there will be some that were committed fascists and understood the political sense of the word, but the vast majority of folks were unaware of it as a political movement as such. Some may even have signed a membership, but to them, Mussolini represented not fascism, not a political movement per se, but a recognition of their own roots.
Stalin was a bad man. Later on, I'm in the Navy, Stalin's a good man. In the mid-50s, he's a bad man. So from that, it started me thinking, well, the government tell me who's bad, who's good, and when I should think they're bad, and when I should think they're good. Well, I'll make up my own mind.
In 1934, Tony and my grandfather were both mailed directly from the Italian consular fascist membership cards with their names already on it. My grandfather completely ignored it.
The church was our community center. We didn't have a community center in Ottawa like some bigger cities, Montreal and Toronto, but the church was the community center. And then somehow or other, fascism came into the church. So we all joined in. We didn't have a Boy Scouts unit. We had great fun. We went to summer camp.
When the fascists were trying to set up groups in local communities, that was in the late 20s and early 30s when Italy and Britain were on good terms. And the fascists were never considered to be subversive or dangerous. That all changed in an instant when Italy declared, its alliance with Hitler. So it went from being a non-threatening organization to being a threat overnight.
After my 18th birthday, I was conscripted, and when I went to when I reported to the Selective Service Office, I was given three choices. I had a choice to go into the Army or go work at the rubber plant in Sarnia, and if I refused, he says, I'll pick up the phone, I'll call the RCMP, and you're going to the concentration camp in Petawawa. So that shook me up pretty good. And there were three other fellows with me at the time. We all had the same choices.
These people were jailed. That's what internment means. There was never any due process. Nobody was ever charged.
A murderer and a thief at that time had a right to a trial, a lawyer, a trial, and everything else. These guys didn't.
Freddo cane, così duro, ma me lo voglio scordare. Dove l'amore caro, l'abbraccio di mia moglie, il cuore mi si è gelato e non si scioglie. Le preghiere di speranza perse in questa stanza, mi ricordano mia moglie, ma il cuore non si scioglie.
The worst part of that period was the fact, the loss of income for the poor families.
What made it rough is a woman with, in my case, 4 children, and there's no income.
They were living in a garage through the winter, and only the third child suffered very badly with pneumonia and other things and was taken to an orphanage or somewhere, taken from their mother.
The names of enemy aliens were readily available to anyone. And in fact, in some instances, they were on telephone poles, much like we used to have the electoral list on telephone phones, if you remember. So you could actually go and see if your neighbor was on an enemy alien list.
I couldn't seem to get a job anywhere because I was Italian. Wherever I went, there was no way at all. So finally I went to on Adelaide Street, they were doing uniforms. And I went and asked them for a job. And Mr. Gisberg asked me my name, and I said, what difference does it make what my name is? I'm willing to do the work. If I can't do the work, then you let me go. But I'll work 1 week for nothing. And if I do my job, then you keep me, I want to be paid.
My mother had to get a job in a bakery for $8 a week, which was not very much even then. I remember on her deathbed seeing her arms with the scars from the bakery, the burns. I realized what she'd gone through for us.
We used to get letters from my dad, but there were mostly little square cutouts here and there in the letter, censored. Whatever he was trying to tell us, we'll never know.
My father received a letter from, I believe, the Minister of Justice, saying that he would be allowed to write to his father at the following address, but there were certain things he wasn't allowed to talk about, in particular business matters. That his letters had to be brief, and they couldn't be too frequent.
Caro figlio, ho ricevuto la tua da Ottawa e spero che il tuo viaggio abbia avuto i suoi frutti. 8 months are hard and long, and to wait a month or a year. You know what this means to find ourselves in this situation, and knowing not to have done anything bad to this country. I'm not sorry, but God bless them. All the good deeds done by us. Have they been completely forgotten? Here we are all fine, except the terrible monotony that gets to your nerve and sometimes is insufferable. A te, Loretta e bambini, vi penso affettuosamente. Leo.
Italia Bakery, patrocinatore del Panorama Italiano, nel panificio con ultramoderni macchinari, pane tipico italiano come pagnotte calabresi, ciabatte ed altro, grande varietà di dolci, affettati e formaggi. Italia Bakery, sempre alla ricerca dei suoi prodotti.
Formaggi calati, prodotti genuini al 100%, mozzarella, ricotta, bocconcini eccetera. I prodotti calati si possono acquistare in qualsiasi negozio. Volete formaggi genuini per la vostra pizza, lasagna, cannelloni e cheesecake? Potete acquistare i prodotti direttamente al negozio al 931 The Camsey Road West. Fiero patrocinatore di Panorama Italiano.
Roma Club di Leamington, con accoglienti ed eleganti sale per ogni occasione. Eventi curati nei minimi dettagli da personale esperto, cucina tipica tradizionale.
At the Leamington Roma Club, we want to remember our heritage by building our future.
Al Roma Club di Leamington sarete contenti della vostra scelta.
Gianni Import and Textile, tutto per tutti, vastissima selezione di tende, copriletti importati, tappeti, macchine per caffè espresso ed altro, vasta selezione di biancheria per la casa. Gianni Import, fiero patrocinatore di Panorama Italiano.
If you happen to take an Italian course at the Italian consulate, for instance, you might automatically be suspect. All the heads of organizations in the Italian community, those names were sold. So we know that happened. Who actually did it and how much they were paid, people will differ on, but clearly it did happen.
The mother was approached by Bersani, something of that sort. And he would approach people and ask, I'll help you get a man out if you do this or if you do that. And one of the things they asked my mom was to sign a paper that would implicate the apostolic delegate, Antoniuti at the time, and say that my dad was getting orders from him and they would release my dad then if she signed it. And of course she said he could stay there all his life. I will never do a thing like that. And mother asked the judge, one of the judges, why would you use a man like that? And the answer was, we use a dirty broom to clean the stable.
I go to this building, I can remember it like yesterday, and this politician, instead of meeting in his office, met us in the elevator of the building. And he says, I know all about this case. Tell this woman that I'm leaving for Ottawa, and her husband, because of what he was just incarcerated by accident, he'll be released very shortly. But I have to be paid for my work, and he wanted $500. Now, $500 in 1940, for $900 you bought a house.
My dad was approached the same way. He required money to pay this well-known politician, which we will not mention. And he did not have the money or the forthwith to pay him. My uncles did, and they did pay him.
Uniamoci un bel giorno. L'aria di mattina libera intorno, che non ci scordiamo mai l'amore, perché fuga la speranza, si scioglie sempre il cuore. Sempre il cuore. Sempre il cuore.
One of the few women that was interned, and she was in her garden bathing her 4-year-old in one of those aluminum bathtubs that they used to have, to hang the wash on. Police officers came in, swooped her away, leaving her child in the water screaming. And I was on a radio show recounting this story, only to hear the 4-year-old boy, now grown up, who called in and said, that was my mother, and let me tell you about it. So many stories that just tore at your heart. This woman had been taken to Kingston Penitentiary because there were no facilities for women at Petawawa, and her son didn't see her for 18 months.
My brother Silvio visited Petawawa And it was Dad's birthday, July the 1st, which he always claimed was for both Canada and him. He would wrap himself with the Canadian flag, and in the morning I would see him with the Canadian flag. And my brother brought a cake, a birthday cake, and the guard threw it down on the floor, and my brother was a little upset about it. And said, to be fair to the guards, so there were some very nice ones and some not. And I remember my mom asking the guard if she could kiss him, because you're not allowed to touch that prisoner, and he turned his back and let her kiss him, which was very touching too.
There were friends of my dad's, friends in the neighborhood that were interred. It seemed to be doctors and lawyers and people like that, because they had been involved in the community, signing papers for others, bringing people from overseas.
And the impact of interning a doctor is a great deal more, it's a great deal stronger than the impact of interning a bricklayer or a maintenance man.
I'm confident that in the Italian community, if we could get the leaders, then the rest could go their way, performing their ordinary work. I think you will find, especially among the Italian societies, that many have hooked up with these organizations as a social obligation, with an eye to business, to be in with the crowd, as far as persons of their own nationality are concerned, or for some such reason. You must remember that tremendous pressure has been brought to bear from Rome. In other words, a large majority of these persons are sheep. And if we could segregate the leaders, the remainder would tend to be loyal Canadians. Norman Robertson, advisor to the Prime Minister of Canada.
One of the internees who was a top chef at the Chateau Laurier Hotel, and his name was Mr. Scarabelli. He was able to get his job back at the Chateau Laurier Hotel, and there was a state dinner when Winston Churchill came here in 1943. And I guess the dinner was so very good, and he asked to speak to the chef. And this Mr. Scarabelli came out, and he was introduced to Winston Churchill. And, you know, the innuendo was that this was a lovely meal. You must have been cooking for a long period of time. You must have been employed here for a long period of time. And he said, yes, I was employed, but I was also interned upon the orders of the British and the Canadian government, sir. And apparently Churchill was just aghast, but, you know, being very diplomatic, hid that.
This is my family. Here's my eldest brother, Bill, Guglielmo. Never called him that, Bill. My mother, Antonietta. Bill, by the way, had joined the army by this time. My father had been out of camp probably 6 or 7 months, and he joined the Navy. Presumably he was still an enemy alien. And that's me. I was I think I turned 16. Yeah, of course I did. I was 16, hadn't turned 17. I was in the Navy. 1 month later, I was in Halifax. A month after that, I was in convoy on the destroyer, the St. Clair.
There were 2 people who were interned who lost sons in the war while they were interned.
Yes, one was the Rainoli family. His son was killed on the invasion of Anzio Beach.
Right.
He was fighting for the Canadian Army, and his father was in the camp.
2 weeks, we lost 3 of the boys, just on Manning Avenue, on Claremont, and up on Gore Street. And they were boys that we knew all together, that we used to always be together. They all joined All of them enjoyed, they weren't not drafted, they were joined. They joined the service to fight for this country.
It is the worst of what happens to the human condition. And the tragedies that occur when that happens are just irreparable.
Well, there isn't anything you could do because under the War Measures Act, we didn't have too many rights or reason to complain. That's how we saw it.
No one is questioning the right of the government to promulgate laws that say we've got to keep our citizens safe from terrorist threats or from political threats or fascist threats in this particular case. You do suspend people's civil rights for a period of time. But when you suspend it unilaterally for a long period of time, you're no longer a democracy, you're a totalitarian state.
The day of liberty lost is never recovered. It's never recovered. It's a day out of your life that is gone. And so it's precious. It is so precious. Forget about the money, forget about property, forget about title, forget about all of these other kinds of things that aren't that significant in the total picture of what's important in life.
Compensation, I mean, how much can they get to compensate the number of days and hours away from their family? You can never compensate that.
My brother, Silvio, died as a result of a car train accident at age 21. So those 3 years were removed from my brother with my father and vice versa. I felt they were cheated. That bothered me very much.
And history should not be in any way compromised. We shouldn't sweep the unfortunate, the tragic, the distasteful occurrences of our past.
I remember in Montreal, we were having a hearing, and this young woman was sitting in the audience. She would have been 18, 19, something like that. And she sat and she saw for the first time the list of internees that the RCMP had produced that had been in Petawawa. And she saw her grandfather's name on it. And she stood up in absolute tears. She said, you know, I have dinner with him every Sunday. He's never spoken to me about this. How could this have happened in this country?
It was just a bad page in history. And like I say, from what I gather, most of the Italians who I met wanted to go on with their lives and hope and pray it never happens again.
I was so discouraged, but my mother used to always say, via me non fa così, va bene scorde fa male pense. Do good and forget it, do evil and remember. 6.5 years in Italy, 88 years here in Canada. My roots are in Italy, and it's always been where you were born, but my heart and my whole life is Canada.
della nella mia preghiera. Let this be our prayer. Quanta fede c'è. Which shall fill our day. Lead us to a place. Guide us with your grace. Give us faith so we'll be saved. Sogniamo un mondo senza più violenza, un mondo di giustizia e di speranza.
Gentili telespettatori, grazie per averci seguito nel nostro programma. Siamo quasi alle 2 e ancora fate in tempo, se volete, a venire ad vedere e ascoltare l'onorevole Fucsia Nissoli Fitzgerald, che sarà alla Sant'Angela appunto alle 2 ed è la persona, diciamo, responsabile per quanto riguarda le leggi sulla doppia cittadinanza e il rinnovo della cittadinanza in loco. Quindi se fate ancora in tempo per venire, sono sicuro che rimarrete contenti della spiegazione appunto che l'onorevole vi darà dello stato di questa legge che moltissimi di noi stanno aspettando. Un'altra informazione poco gradevole, gentili telespettatori, è che l'ambasciatore ha annullata la sua visita qui nella comunità di Windsor, che sarebbe dovuto essere la settimana prossima. I motivi di questo annullamento non ci sono noti al momento di questa trasmissione, ma comunque ve le faremo presente non appena saranno in mia conoscenza la settimana prossima. Vi ricordo ancora una volta, gentili telespettatori, che questo programma viene trasmesso la domenica alla 1 per la zona di Windsor e Leamington, ripetuto poi la sera alle 7:30 e quindi il mercoledì alle 5:30 e alle 11 di notte. Questo programma è anche online al www.panorama.italiano.ca e anche in YouTube Panorama Italiano Windsor. Coloro che vogliono informare la comunità degli eventi dei loro club, associazioni eccetera possono sempre chiamarmi al 9721355 e sarà fatto. Inoltre in questo programma facciamo anche auguri per gli eventi in famiglia, battesimi, cresimi, comunioni e tant'altro. Coloro che vogliono estendere gli auguri tramite questo programma ai loro cari possono sempre chiamarci e saremo ben lieti di accontentare le loro richieste. Vi ringrazio di avermi seguito e arrivederci alla settimana prossima. Ciao.
Nobody can beat the Italian culture. Buon appetito!
Per deliziosi pasti in famiglia, prodotti Primo. Italia Bakery, patrocinatore di Panorama Italiano.
Windsor Building Center ha tutto l'occorrente per i vostri lavori, laterizi e legnami di prima qualità come drywall, insulation ed altro, con servizio a domicilio in tempo e con la massima cura. La famiglia Riolo è lieta di servirvi sempre meglio in tutti i vostri acquisti. Windsor Building Center, Tecumseh e Benwell.
Germain Restaurant Supply all'1131 Cranford Avenue è il negozio dove la donna della cucina, come pure il proprietario di ristorante, trovano oggetti per i loro bisogni, piatti, bicchieri, stoviglie e tant'altro a prezzi speciali.
Germain Restaurant Supply, il posto per i vostri bisogni della cucina. Parole dello chef.